Yeah, well, obviously it's a cool time of the year for us. A chance to see all our new players and our returning players get on the field together for the first time. So we'll start tomorrow uh, with our first official team practice. The guys have been working really hard in the weight room, in our individual, workouts, all those things. So it'll be good to see them out on the field together for the first time as a team, and see where we are and what we need to work on.
All right, we'll open up to David Cloninger. First question.
How's it going, Mark? Good to see you again.
Yeah, you guys too. You guys too.
Anybody that you know of that won't be with you because of injury or other reason for not only fall, but going into the season?
Yeah, Jackson Phipps required Tommy John surgery a little time ago, so he will miss the season. Jack Mahoney, as you know, towards the end of last year had Tommy John, so he will be available as a position player, but not as a pitcher this year. He came to us last year as a two-way guy. He was a shortstop, infielder / right-handed pitcher in high school, and he was recruited that way. So he will be only a position player for us this year. And then we have some guys that are, nicked up right now, but nothing that I think will carry on into the season. So you may see some guys missing here and there throughout the fall, but at this point, nothing that would keep them out during the spring.
We'll go to Michael and Anna next.
Hey, Mark. Good to see
Mike.
you again.
You too.
Obviously, I know you got some new faces on the coaching staff this year. Just kind of curious, how are things meshing with you guys so far? I know you're just kind of getting started here, and what's kind of the feeling like, I guess, around the stadium, around the program now that you have some new faces in the coaching room?
I think it's very good. Obviously, we lost some good coaches that moved on to different opportunities, but we also, I think, added some great guys, both people and coaches. And that's what when this opportunity presented itself, I think it was a great opportunity to see what was out there. And we ended up with some guys that I had known for a while. Their reputations were flawless. And it was a great opportunity to bring kind of, new ideas, new energy into the program. And it's been great. And I think our players have responded very well. And obviously you had Scott Wingo as a new coach too. I think that's been, really, really cool for our players. It's been cool for me. It's just a great connection to a great time in our program's history. And we tell recruits all the time that we want this to be the Gamecock baseball family, and we want to feel connected to players that have played in our program. And I think bringing Scott back to be an assistant coach with us is a big statement in proving that what we say we mean. So he's been great. Coach Kaye has been great, and Coach Parker have been great. So it's something I'm really excited about.
We'll go to Colin Taylor next.
Mark, hopefully you're doing well. Just curious, you obviously bring Julian back after he gets drafted. Will Sanders comes back for a second. How big was it to get not only Sanders into Team USA, but get Julian back? And where have you seen the biggest growth from those two guys through the time you've been able to spend with them?
Yeah, I think for them, they'll be pitching in a very limited, if any, role this fall. They both have thrown a lot of innings and are guys that we want to make sure we're conservative with and make sure that they're full go for the spring. But I think with them, you're just going to continue to see more maturity, more confidence. They both have had enough success now that you go into the season. One will be very confident in them, but I think they'll be going into the 2022 season confident in themselves. They've done it. Last year, they were both trying to prove themselves, and they did that. So you can build off that if you're a player. And Julian Bosnick should be extremely confident going into next season. I think he'll be one of the top left-handed pitchers in the country, and can't wait to go to battle with him. I think Will Sanders' progression will continue. I think Coach Parker will do a great job with him. And obviously he was on Team USA. Julian Bosnick had the opportunity to go to Team USA last summer as well, but just wanted to shut it down and rest some. So you have two guys in your rotation there probably that are Team USA caliber pitchers. And so it's a great starting point for us as we move forward.
Go to John Whittle next.
Yeah, how much do you go into this fall? Not worried isn't the right word, but kind of anxious to see your pitching staff in terms of just who can step up after losing so many bodies and so many innings from last year.
Yeah, I think it's something that will be one of the things we're all watching is who's going to take that next step, which of the new guys fill big roles. that's what the fall is for. And I've got a lot of confidence that the combination of the returning guys that will get better and the guys we've brought in will give us what we need. Every year is different. Nobody knew last year that Andrew Peters would be a key guy for us before the season started. And nobody knew that Julian Bosnick would develop into the kind of guy he was. And last year at this time, nobody had ever heard of Will Sanders in Gamecock Nation. But you bring guys in, you give them opportunities, and guys will get better. And so I know the personnel we'll have a lot of guys on this year's team that maybe played smaller roles in the past, who will have really big, important roles and do well for us. And we've also added some guys that I think will be a piece of the puzzle too. So that's what the fall's for. I'm anxious to see exactly who's getting better, who wants a bigger role, and who takes them.
Go next to David Cloninger.
Mark, a two-parter here. First, did all of your recruiting class get in? Are all those guys ready to go?
Oh yeah. We lost one guy to the draft. Well, we lost one high school kid to the draft and a couple of JUCO kids to the draft. Yeah. But yeah, everybody else that got through the draft is here, performing and have looked good in the workouts so far. So yeah, I'm anxious to see them playing games now.
And with that, lost a lot of innings on the mound, lost a lot of at-bats from last year's team with the draft and graduation and all. How vital is it to find guys from that group of freshmen that can step in and not only play, but play at a high level right away?
Yeah, in 2021, 2022, as you move forward now, there's a lot of ways to rebuild and reload on your team. Obviously, high school guys, we have some high school guys that will play a big role for us this year. We have some very good transfer guys that we've brought in from the transfer portal from some very good universities that so far have looked really good on our field so far this fall. You have JUCO transfers. There's a lot of ways. And again, every year's different and every year provides new opportunities for new guys to make names for themselves. So I think if you're recruiting it in the right way and you're picking the right guys, the names may change, but what you want is a program that every year has a consistent standard for what you think you're going to be able to do. And if you're bringing in the right players every year and you're developing them the right way, then you'll meet that standard. And I expect that to be the case.
Colin Taylor.
Mark, obviously, how much can you gain with so many new guys on this roster? How much can you glean just from small work or individual work? And how much is it going to have to come from seeing live at-bats and seeing live innings pitched throughout the course of the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, they're all pieces of the puzzle, Colin. Workouts are one piece of the puzzle. You get to see what their work ethic and maturity is in areas like the weight room and those areas. Scrimmages now then become another piece of the puzzle. But really, none of it really matters until you start that season in the spring. And when the lights turn on and they open the gates and there's another team in the other dugout trying to beat you, you don't really know what you have until you get to that point. And sometimes you don't know till 3, 4, 5 weeks into a season what you have or how you need to put the pieces of the puzzle together. So what this next week and then this segment of our fall will be is just a piece of that puzzle. And we're always trying to gain information and information to know what we have, and then also how to get guys better and help them improve.
And I think you brought in 4 or 5 transfers. Just what have you seen from that group of guys and how they could potentially impact this roster, whether that's from a starting position or off the bench?
Yeah, I think we brought in some guys that are going to have a major impact. I really do. I think on the offensive side, I think they're going to really help us. I think defensively, we added some guys that are going to be very encouraging when our people see them. And then on the pitching side, there's some new names on our roster that guys will get to know, that our fans will get to know pretty quickly once that season starts. So whether it was JUCO transfers, transfer portal guys, there's going to be some new names that Gamecock fans will be very happy with.
Michael and Nana.
Mark, I know you've talked a lot with us about Braylon Wimmer and the tools that he has and just athleticism and, coming off a summer in the Cape Cod League and obviously last year, just the power explosion that he had. I mean, what's sort of the ceiling with him? I mean, what do you see with him? And is there another gear that he can get to in his game? I mean, how important of a player is he for you guys this year? Yeah,
absolutely. There's another gear for him. You're talking about a sophomore last year that had 27 extra base hits, playing an SEC schedule. It's very impressive. And when we signed him, sometimes you sign guys and they're finished products, and sometimes you sign guys and we're all familiar with the word projectable. He was a guy that was very projectable when we signed him. He was long, lanky, athletic. And since the day he's gotten here, he's gotten more maturity, and he's gotten physically stronger, and he's learned more how to play the game. And I think there's definitely another year or two with him. He's going to get a lot of looks at shortstop this fall. And so he's a guy that can play a lot of different positions on the field for you. We all know he's played second base and center field for us. He'll get a lot of run at shortstop this fall just to see what that looks like. And he's a guy that I think will take another step offensively. He struck out a little bit too much last year, and I think Coach Kaye will really have a nice impact on him and cleaning some things up offensively. So I think you're looking at a very high-end player there, and a guy that probably will be a very high draft pick.
John Whittle.
Everybody who has been around Scott Wingo for any length of time has a memorable story. It's been about a month or two for you. What's your Scott Wingo story?
Well, that's a good question, John. You put me on the spot. I wasn't expecting that one. Scott Wingo's story. I don't have one story now. I can just tell you that he just brings a great vibe to us every day. And the next time you ask me that question, I'll have a specific story. But what I can tell you now is just it's cool to see him in the office every day. It's cool to introduce him to recruits and say, hey, you see this guy on the wall that we have a big mural of? This is now an assistant coach with us. And so he's been great on the field. He's a great instructor. He's great on the fungo. He's great with batting practice. It's just been a really nice addition for our program. So next time we do this, I'll have a good funny story about Scott.
Dave.
Mark, when you relay that one, make sure it's safe for work so we can all print.
Yeah, you got it.
We saw the SEC schedule come out a week or two ago. Are you at liberty to share any of your non-conference series besides Clemson?
Not yet. Obviously, you guys know we'll play Texas and Clemson. So between the 10 weekends within the SEC and then the Clemson and the Texas, you've got 12 of the 14 weekends accounted for there. So we'll release the other 2 weekends soon enough, but you've got the great majority there. And again, that's a bear of a schedule. You play 10 SEC conference weekends, and then you add Texas and Clemson. We're going to have to be on top of our game every day of the year.
Colin?
Mark, obviously Wes Sweat was a guy coming off Tommy John and pitched a little bit last year. Where have you seen maybe the growth in his game over the course of the last couple months? And what's the plan for Alec coming off his obviously injuries there?
Yeah, Boychuk's, is a week by week thing. He'll start to catch in small doses this fall. He's been swinging the bat pretty well so far in our workouts, and he's throwing very well. So it's just a matter of him continuing to heal those feet up. So I think he'll be in a good place by the end of the fall. And then I think Wesley Sweat's going to be a key guy for us. I think he needs to be one of those guys we've talked about that, again, I've compared and contrasted a lot of our key pitchers last year and what their success was. And I looked at what their first or second year was, and you saw improvement, and you saw guys enlarge their roles. So I think he's one of the top candidates to do that. His freshman year with us, he started games and he pitched a lot of big innings. And then he had the injury, and last year, he was coming back from that injury. But I think he'll be one of the key guys where you look up and you say, hey, he's helping us win a lot of important games and pitching a lot of important innings.
And with Chad and Justin now being able to get out on the recruiting trail a little bit more now that they've kind of settled into Columbia, what's been the response on the recruiting trail? How pleased are you with where the next couple classes are with you guys?
Yeah, we'll be in good shape. I don't think with what we have to provide for recruits and for how we present it and for them wanting to be a part of it and them seeing, that we do develop players at a very high level. This is a great package for a recruit. You talk about the tradition of the school with multiple national championships. Another thing we're selling is that development that we provide. Since we got here, we're in the top 7 in the country in Major League Baseball draft picks. And then you put on top of that, you get to go to school in this town and everything that goes with it. The beautiful campus. It's a great degree. I mean, you combine all those things and the response is going to be very good on the recruiting trail, and those guys are going to do a great job selling it as well. So we're in great shape there.
Michael?
I'm just curious, when the season ended, did you think it was a real possibility you guys might get Eister back this year? And now that you do have him back, just how important is it to have a guy with his obviously experience, has come through with a lot of clutch moments for you guys, to have him with all the new faces that you have to, still in the lineup for you guys?
Yeah, very important, very important. It was a 50-50 proposition, probably, Michael. He was to the point where he was hoping to get drafted, like they all are, and they should be, because if you play here, you should have a chance to play pro ball, you hope someday. And so he was a little disappointed when it didn't work out. And this is a proven hitter. He's a 300 hitter. He was a 300 hitter in the SEC last year. This is a proven big time hitter. And so to get him back has been very important to us. I'll also say the same for Josiah Seitler. Seitler could have been a draft pick last year, and I think he's got another gear to get to as well. So when you look at Seitler, when you look at Wimmer, when you look at Eister, when you look at Burgess, I mean, there's more guys coming back that are very important to our success than maybe people are giving us credit for. So I look forward to all those guys taking the next step, and all of them coming back will be very important for us.
Dave?
Mark, you mentioned Boychik and Burgess. Obviously, Alex couldn't play last year. Colin stepped in, had a pretty good season. Do you look at them as, you'll catch half and you'll catch half, or do you want one solid guy behind the plate and then maybe the other one can play somewhere else in the field?
Yeah, way too early for that. Way too early for that. And I will tell you, they're not the only two guys that are going to get some run. Messina is a young freshman prospect that has potential back there, as well as LeCroy. So we're going to have, they're not all healthy right now going into the fall, but come springtime, they will be. So I look forward to that being a very, very good position for us with depth and quality.